Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters, and today we're going to be working on the Trumpeter WR360 locomotive, and this is going to be the little switcher locomotive that we're going to use in our diorama that we've been working on for the last couple of weeks. So let's get started on it. Okay, if you're going ahead and actually build this kit like I am, you do not want to glue these wheels down right away, even though they say to, as the next step, because when you're about to put these on, you'll never get this bar to line up properly. So my recommendation is to get this on and loosely put them all on, get them to lock in. We'll glue this into position right here, and then you can actually glue the wheels on, because if not, if this is even off slightly, none of it lines up. One other tip I can give you while you're building it is, I noticed that when we glued this together and squeezed it all up, that the wheels become too small for it. So what I had to do is I took some shims of plastic to put inside there and left that in there while the pieces are drying, so this way it's going to line up exactly the way it's supposed to with the track. If not, it wants to flop in and out. So before you just go and start gluing everything together, you really want to measure up and make sure everything's going to fit properly on the track. Okay, we've got all of the primary sub-assemblies put together, and we're just testing them all out for fit. So there's the general shape of the locomotive. Let me lower the camera down a little bit so you can see it there. Everything went together fairly well. There was a couple minor fit situations that happened here and there, but they were very minor, just something you needed to stretch the pieces out to fit. Now we're not going to glue most of this on because we want to be able to paint the interior and all this, so it's going to be much easier if we just leave it dry, paint it, then put it together later on. Same thing with this as well. You have all the photo edge grills in the front here that we want to make sure are painted really well and might not paint as well through the grate. So like I said, we'll go ahead and start doing all the painting now. Okay, now we're going to shoot Tamiya's XF2. They're flat white. We're going to do the black and white effect, and that's going to give the nice tonal variation when we put our final German gray on it. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, that's the general look we kind of want to go for with the black and white technique. Now we're going to use XF22, which is our element gray, and we're going to go over the entire vehicle with that. Remember, if you're doing the black and white technique for the undercoat, when you put your final base coat on, you don't want to put it on super heavy, or you're going to just cover over all the extra work you've done. And as you can see with the Locomotive here, how you start to get an aged appearance of the vehicle just by having it doing the black and white underneath. Okay, before we do any more weathering on the Locomotive, I kind of want to give you a general idea of what I'm planning for this diorama that I keep talking about. This is the board that we're gonna use for it. I'm gonna actually make a nice molding to go around the entire thing, and I'm kind of deciding on probably just doing a diorama like this where we have one long piece of track, which I've ordered more track up, that'll go across the entire board. a smaller spur line, because this will kind of represent a German rail yard, because this is just like a small switcher locomotive. I might build another one of these or these and then put some vehicles on, and then I'm in the early process of making a concrete type embankment ramp that they would drive the vehicles up onto the flatbed cars, because they'd either do it that way or they'd have like a big concrete area where they could drive them on sideways. So, and because it's supposed to be kind of like a rail yard, I'm kind of deciding on this right here, and of course this track will go off, and we'll probably have another car. Tracks will probably be about that close to each other, and then maybe like the vehicle driving up on it. We'll put some figures on it and stuff. And I'm also hoping to find some kind of like buildings to put over in this corner over in here to do like a little rail station. Also, I forgot to point out too, I didn't put the glass inside the train yet, obviously, because we were painting it, and it'll be way easier to just disassemble it, glue the glass in from behind, and not have to worry about masking all those different pieces on it. But that is the color that we wanted. Now I'm going to do a little bit more weathering on it and give some like of a dirt effect, or excuse me, dust effect across the bottom. And then we'll do some using those new weathering effects from Vallejo. I think we'll probably put some engine grime and kind of dirty it up, since it is a rail yard. They get kind of grimy and dirty and oily. So let's go ahead and do a little more weathering on the vehicle right now. Now, as you probably saw me do, even though you're not going to be able to see very well inside the cab at all, I am doing a little bit of weathering on the floor, just in case you look in, you'll be able to see something. I also duplicated a little bit of a wood grain for the wooden chair that that the operator would operate on. Now, what I'm doing is I'm going to use a little sky gray, very, very lightly. We're going to put a little on the brush, wipe most of it off on there, and then we're just going to kind of highlight. Oops, that's a little bit too much on there. We'll be able to blend that in now. And we're just going to highlight some of these components in here. So if you look through the window, you will be able to see a little bit of what's happening inside, so it doesn't just look super plain in there. Hopefully you can see how it's just starting to break up the solid black. Areas where anyone would be rubbing on anything or touching anything, and the paint would be coming off. And also, you saw this is just little pieces of foam brush that I blotted on the different colors to make it look like the paint was all coming off. And I also did a little dry brushing, and I'll do a little bit more on there as well. Like I said, you're not gonna be able to see much. After I put the cab on and we put the windows on, it hides quite a bit of the inside. But let me slide this on. I don't know if you can see, if I can get it to look inside a little bit. Might not be able to see very well. Okay, we're going to use our sponge again, and using the track color that we made up a couple weeks ago for the Sturmgeschütz. We're going to just lightly start going over some of the areas on here that'll just give a little bit of corrosion to it and kind of break up the vehicle color. And it's going to be very subtle, and it's got to be something that's built up over time. Hopefully you can kind of... Okay, we're going to use the track color that we made a few weeks ago for the undercoat for the track, which is a mixture of 50% NATO black, 40% red, and 10% copper. And we're just going to put it on our sponge. I'm just damping some of it out here so it's not too heavy. And we're just going to lightly start going over some of the edges where there might be a little corrosion, some of the steps. And we're going to keep going over that for till we get to the point we like it. We also want to take a little of our NATO black and do a little dry brushing on some of the areas here to make them pop out a little bit more. And then real lightly to make some highlights on top of those darks using our other gray color. And using our sky gray again, we want to lightly start to put some highlights on some of this stuff. Now it's a real light, but hinges will start to pop out. All of these little rivets and bolts and some of the edges will also pop out, show off a little bit more detail. Hopefully you can see as we start to do the dry brushing how the tones start to change and it starts to get a dirty, messed up type of look to it. Now we're going to take the new weathering effects from Vallejo and use a little bit of the oil stains, and we're going to put a little bit down into the little areas down in here where they would constantly have to grease, and therefore you'd have oil mixed with a little bit of dirt from the train itself start to show up on all this stuff. We're also going to take that engine oil and just put a few little streaky stains on the running boards here. Nothing crazy, just a little bit on here. Okay, I've completed the weathering on this kit. Put all the little grime and oil stains inside all this area. Of course, did all the little walk areas up on top and wore off some of the paint. As a final thing, I took XF 57 buff and just lightly, very, very lightly, misted over most of the entire vehicle and a little bit heavier on the bottom as like a dust coat. And actually went ahead and did the cars in the back as well there too. And that kind of mutes everything down and kind of blends everything together so the weathering isn't too harsh on it. So that'll complete this video for now. We probably will do a little bit more weathering once we get all the groundwork down to kind of blend everything together, but it'd be very minor. I want to thank you very much for watching, and please stay tuned because we have more videos coming.